These musicians get their inspiration from the source, the place where everything begins. This trickle of water is the starting point of the River Somme.
When you're surrounded by nature, it's the acoustics which shape the sound of each instrument. We're surrounded by sound when we're down there.
On this improvised stage, Peter and Chester celebrate this waterway which starts its epic journey here. 245 kilometers to the west, it becomes a wide meandering river which snakes its way through the Picardy landscapes. Alain Verdier has spent 3 decades painting the Somme.
The tones change depending on what time of day it is. The river is the sky which is reflected in it. It's stunning.
30 kilometers further on, the floating gardens in the village of Ham inspire another artist, the photographer Jean-Marie Lefebvre. He never gets bored of the changing face of this river.
There we go. It's alive. There are always small details, like this small tree, for example. It's leaning forward on the riverbank to enjoy the light.
He manages to capture what we might forget to notice, be it the shade of the trees or the way the algae moves.
It's a real blend of beauty, and you get to see some really pretty things. In full action there, Colette. Bye-bye.
For the rest of the trip, we're hopping on board this train at Froissy station.
The Somme bends its way between Péronne and Corbie. This, here in front of us, is the river. They're not ponds.
This stretch of track was built by soldiers for the Battle of the Somme. 300 trains went back and forth every day in 1916 to prepare for this decisive episode of the First World War. It was later used during the post-war reconstruction period and then by local industries until 1973.
We knew that it was going to be scrapped, so we decided to save this little train and turn it into a tourist attraction. Otherwise, it would have just disappeared. This is the last remaining railway that was built for the First World War. There are just these 6 kilometers of track left.
Every year, 15,000 people come to enjoy a ride. The train chugs its way through tiny villages with some exceptional architectural gems, like Capy and its fortified steeple, or La Motte-Brébière with its lock-keepers' cottages.
Hi, kids. Here's the Bista tart.
Arnaud has restored his house back to its former glory.
I let it soak in milk and some local mascot beer. You come from Corbie. I use a drop of beer for my yeast.
It's very pleasant. The owner is really friendly. It feels like we've known each other for a long time.
After lunch, it's time for a little history lesson.
Come and look. This is the last watering trough still standing on this stretch of towpath. It's a relic from the days when the barges were pulled by horses, by oxen.
These remnants of the past are carefully preserved by local enthusiasts, like here in Long, a village with a population of 600 inhabitants and one special treasure. This chateau dates from the 18th century. It was completely renovated thanks to the hard work and the energy of its loving owner Claude, a man who's more than happy to share its delights.
The greatest pleasure we can have is to amaze people and to please those who come to visit.
We were looking for a place to picnic, and we went to the front of the castle first, and we were like, ah, wow. It's great that there are people like Claude who are dedicated to restoring all this.
Our trip ends at the Chateau's lake, which is filled with the water from the Somme, a river which will soon pour out into the sea just a few bends further on.